Ready?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Hans-Peter Meyer, and today I'm talking to Joe Wiebe. Joe is the author of Craft Beer Revolution, The Insider's Guide to BC Breweries, but it's much more than that. Joe, what is this book about? Why should I buy it?
Well, it's about all the craft breweries in BC, and it starts off with the 1982 when Horseshoe Bay Brewing opened, and just continues on from there right up to the present day and even the future. There's
The future?
The future of craft brewing in BC.
What is the future of craft brewing?
A whole lot more beer and a whole lot more breweries. Right now there's 50 breweries profiled in this book, and it came out in May and it's already out of date because there's 3 breweries that have opened in BC since then.
Right.
And there could be as many as 8 or 9 more that will open in the next 12 months, and who knows how many more after that. It's just going like gangbusters right now. It's been going crazy for about 6 years already. Lots, like, just great growth, big expansion all over the place, all over BC. So I mentioned there's 50 breweries profiled in here. That's broken down region by region. So, it's a kind of thing where you can use it as a guidebook to plan a trip around beer, spend a few days in the Okanagan and visit the breweries there instead of the wineries maybe this time, or do them both. Or you can learn more about the breweries in your own neck of the woods. And also there's more than 100 beers from different breweries profiled here as well, tasting notes for more than 100 beers. So it's kind of thing where you can buy a beer at the liquor store, see what I say about it, and maybe, make your own opinion about it, or find another beer like it if you're interested in trying a similar beer or another beer from that same brewery. And then I also mix a few little essays here and there about various interesting aspects of the industry, including some more of the history, like the hop growing history in BC, the early days, like the first breweries back in the 1850s when Victoria first started arriving as its own city, I guess. And
okay, I'm going to interrupt here.
Sure.
So give me the thumbnail. So, like I said in the last one, our town, or Cumberland actually, is known as the luckiest town in BC. It's because they sell more cans of Lucky than anywhere else in BC. The big breweries with that kind of standard, I'm sure it comes out of the same vat. They probably share the same vat. I don't know, but and that's what I drank for years, and I stopped drinking beer. Like, I just got bored with it. What happened in BC's beer history? Why did we end up with that, and why was there the change?
Well, yeah, that's a really interesting aspect to it, because basically it had by the 70s it had become a situation where there were only 3 breweries selling beer in BC. It was Molson, Labatt, and Carling O'Keefe, and they were basically putting out the same bland yellow, fizzy water.
But we loved that. Why did we love that? Like, why did the other kind?
There was nothing else to drink. You couldn't drink anything. They didn't have Guinness. They didn't have anything from Europe. They didn't have anything from the States. They had nothing, right? And basically, John Mitchell, the man who started Horseshoe Bay Brewing in 1982, he owned a bar in Horseshoe Bay, the Troller Pub, and he told me that in the late 70s there were a series of beer strikes where all the breweries would go on strike, and then there'd be no beer. You couldn't get any beer, and he said it was crazy, right? He's trying to run this bar, and he can't even get beer. Finally, they would get beer from, Olympia or something from Washington State, and then he said it was even worse than what they'd been drinking before. So he just got more and more frustrated, and he did a big trip back. He was from England. He did a big trip back to England and kind of just was amazed by all the great beer that he found over there. And he came back to Canada in the early 80s and decided that he was going to start a brewery. He didn't know how to do it or, what the laws were or anything, but he just said, I'm just going to do this. And he's just the kind of stubborn, pig-headed sort of guy that got it done. He had to just keep on fighting and fighting to get it done. So he opened that brewery in 1982, serving an English-style mild ale, and it became a huge hit. People traveled from all over the Lower Mainland and all over BC to try this beer, and it didn't. Unfortunately, that place didn't last long because it was kind of a makeshift brewery. But he later went on to help start Spinnaker's Brew Pub in Victoria in 1984, and that was the first brew pub in all of Canada. And he basically, opened the floodgates from then on. I think what the big difference is craft beer is there's a huge range of flavors. It's not just that one basic flavor of beer that the big breweries put out. You have so many different styles under that one banner of craft beer. You have everything from a Pilsner, which is similar to a Lucky, let's say, but with a lot more flavor, through, different kinds of pale ales and amber ales and dark ales and stouts and porters and IPAs and then you get Belgian beers that are becoming really popular now, like Wits and Saisons and soured beers and tons of things.
Right. So I'm new to this, and I seem to be stuck on this IPA thing. I guess it's like a typical thing, right? People new to craft beer, all of a sudden, wow, the hop flavors in IPA. So tell me about this Northwest IPA, because this is like a thing for this region, right? Like the Pacific Northwest. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's great. And in fact, the BC beer scene is a little more focused and connected with the West Coast than with the rest of Canada, for instance. Right. So I often get asked if our beer here compares with Ontario and Quebec, and it does. I think it's very comparable in terms of the overall quality, certainly, and the number of breweries and so on. But our beer more reflects the mentality of the brewers down in Washington and Oregon and Northern California, which are really focused heavily on these Northwest hops that you just mentioned. And so these hops are. Everybody talks about them being super bitter, and the fact is they're actually not so bitter as they are. They have all these amazing tropical fruit flavors and citrus flavors associated with them. I mean, they're used as a bittering agent in the beer. That's what hops do, but they also impart these extra flavors and these aromas. The best IPAs, you should open them and pour them in a glass. Always drink out of a glass. Don't drink your beer from a bottle. You won't taste anywhere near what you can taste if you pour it in a glass. And the first thing is take a sniff, and you should just have this amazing aroma of grapefruit and tangerine and tropical fruits like what are the other ones I'm forgetting? Papaya and mango and things like that, right? And then, it works so well in those beers. It's just, they become these really refreshing, really delicious beers as a result. So that's what the craze is all about these days, and that's what's leading the edge of the craft beer movement, certainly on the West Coast, yeah.
Beer tastes change. Your favorites will change from week to week, perhaps. I don't know. What's this week's favorite flavor?
These days, I think Saisons are kind of the cool new style that breweries are really getting into and consumers are really enjoying. So a Saison is a Belgian ale that it's also called a farmhand ale or a farmhouse ale, and it was traditionally made on the farms in Belgium. The farmers would make it themselves as something to serve to the workers, so it was more like food almost, I guess. But it uses a Belgian yeast that gives it a really kind of peppery flavor. I just had one last night in Powell River at Townsite, and we were talking about it, how if you do it right and you use the right yeast and everything and you let it age long enough, it'll actually develop this peppery character all by itself. But sometimes what brewers do is they actually add ground pepper to their Saisons or other spices. I've heard of lots of different things being added to them. Like Driftwood's Farmhand Ale, which is the first Saison that was on the BC market about 4 years ago, they actually add ground pepper to it as well. And it's funny, you can kind of feel it in your sinuses after a while, right? You don't really taste it so much as feel this heat in your sinuses. But so that's a really nice beer, and it works really well in the summer. It's quite effervescent and it's quite light, and there's quite a bit of, usually you use different grains and different kinds of like things like rye, or the brewer was talking about using spelt and things like that along with the barley malt. So it just gives it a different character that's really nice in the summertime especially.
Okay, let's go back to the future now.
Sure.
In terms of future flavors or future things that are coming up besides more breweries, is there something that we should be watching out for?
It's interesting about flavors-wise. I don't know. I think more and more Belgian styles, like they're becoming more and more popular, so probably breweries that haven't done them before will. Hybrid styles, like things like Belgian IPAs, so that's where you use the Belgian yeast, which has this kind of spicy character to it, but you use the West Coast IPA hops and things like that, so you get this kind of combination of the two, which presents an interesting beer for sure. And then a return to styles like Pilsners, which are haven't been brewed that much. I mean, a few breweries make them, but just lagers in general. Like lagers in BC, most breweries put out a lager, but it's basically what they're doing to imitate Lucky Lager, you know. And then they think of that as being a entry point for people who drink Lucky or something like that. Some even go so far as to disguise the fact that they even make it. Like Vancouver Island's Islander beer doesn't even say anywhere on the box, as far as I can tell, that it's made by Vancouver Island Brewery. But it's the idea is they're trying to find a market like Lucky, right? But what I think is going to happen more and more is these craft breweries are going to put out good, solid lagers, craft lagers, you know, that have a lot more flavor to them. You know, you drink a lager in Germany or in the Czech Republic, a Pilsner in the Czech Republic, and there's tons of flavor in there, and hoppiness, and, you know, wonderful mouthfeel from the brewing process. I mean, that's what lagers are so great at, you know. We just all think that lagers are supposed to be almost flavorless because that's what we grew up drinking, but it's not true at all in the places where lager was born, you know, over in Europe. So yeah, good Pilsners. There's a few on the market already, like Hoyner Pilsner from Victoria is an excellent Pilsner. The new Steamworks Pilsner that came out last year is very good as well. Lots of flavor there. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that coming out in the future from a lot of different breweries.
Okay. Well, you just told me that the first edition of this book is sold out.
Yeah, I mean, you can still get it in stores. It's not sold out that way, but the publisher said to me that their warehouse is now empty. They don't have any copies of it left. They're doing a reprint, but you know, it's very exciting. It's available all over the place. You can get it from local bookstores. You can get it from some breweries or liquor stores as well. You can order it online. You can get it at Chapters, or, you know.
And places. I'm assuming that with all the changes coming up and the emergence of like perhaps a big Pilsner revival, we're going to see a rewrite of this, or
I don't know. I mean, hopefully that'll happen, but I know nothing about that right now. Right now, I just want to focus on, you know, it just came out a few months ago, and I'm focusing on this first edition right now.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for stopping in my backyard.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you.
Revolution.
Buy the book, drink the beer. Tell us what you think of the flavors you're getting, because they really are amazing. You know, like my thirsty girl who never drank beer is now always asking for beer. It could happen to you too.
Yeah, I converted my wife to a Pilsner drinker in the Czech Republic
10
years ago when we went there, and now she drinks lots of different beer, but she loves that style the best.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.